What is up, y'all? Welcome back to Commissioner We Have a Problem. We are finally wrapping up our off-season episodes, our final interview with the one and only, the core, the problem of Commissioner We Have a Problem, Justin Timko.
The problem? I don't know if I like that, but
no, I think it flows. I think it flows really well.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, I do have notoriety for many reasons, so we'll take that as being a problem. But yeah, happy to be here for my own episode. Finally, I've waited long enough, so it's my time to shine as a champ.
Yeah, usually I just get to sit here and make one-liners while you talk, but you sent me the schedule, and I've got to run the show today, make you feel like a guest. So a little nervous, but I'm going to do my best.
I'll make you earn your wages.
Yeah, y'all really do. Y'all really do. So to kick it off, got any life updates? What's happening? Do anything fun this summer? What's new in the life of Justin?
Yeah, just a few. Let's see. The summertime, it's probably the most exciting thing. We got to go back to see family in July. So 4th of July, Sarah's parents, they have a lake house, so we got to go down there and have some fun and get some time on the lake. And it was really exciting too, because just a couple days, or a couple weeks I should say, prior to that, we found out that we are expecting our first kiddo. So
wow,
that was big time. I got to tell a couple of you guys that were at the retreat. So that's big life news for us, of course. We're thrilled. We're pumped. Yeah, definitely something that we were looking to do this year, and as we get to be that age, and so we're excited to follow suit with the rest of the league because, quite a few babies coming out. Both recently and in the future, so we're excited to be a part of that too.
I think the people in the league are about to be outnumbered by babies if they're not already.
That is crazy to think about, but exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, I'll have to run the numbers on that, but you're adding to the numbers, so congrats. That's really exciting. We're excited for y'all to have a baby, so.
Yeah, we are too. So February is due date, but we'll see when they come. Could be January. Who knows? Excited for that.
Cool.
And then upcoming trips. We had the Dynasty retreat. That's a trip for me. Got to go out to Texas. Good to see you guys and hang out for a little bit. And then planning a baby moon. TBD where that's going to be. We're thinking Mexico. We're already close to it. And then we can actually fly out of a Mexican airport for a lot cheaper. So we can just drive down to TJ and cross the border on foot, literally into the airport. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, we did that in Mexico this year, and it was pretty fun. So got a decent deal on a resort and cheap tickets. So
yeah,
cool.
But lots of fun stuff. I'm excited for football season, though. As of the time of this recording, we're a week and 2 days away, and all the fantasy drafts are happening. So it's time for football.
I know. The anticipation is welling. I actually went to the Cowboys Open practice today, and I was like, it's just fun seeing football in real life. I can't wait for it to happen. We're doing a few drafts in different leagues outside of the Dynasty League, so it's coming. It's almost here.
Yeah,
you've done a good job at wrangling us all up to get this all recorded before. Now you just have to get them released before the season starts.
I think I can manage. I'm gonna knock some out after this, but yeah, it's been fun.
Love it. Cool. Well, I guess now I'm reading the schedule and revisiting the startup draft and all that. I'm assuming you have all that pulled up because
I do.
Because I didn't do any of that.
So I'll share mine. Don't worry, I got you.
I figured. I'll still stat check while talking. I probably will do it poorly, but I'll try.
Yeah, we'll definitely need some stat checks.
Yeah, so we are revisiting your startup draft here, and foreshadowing. It must have been a pretty good startup draft. That's all I'll say. But walk us through it. What do you think of your startup draft?
My startup draft was decent enough. Looking back on it, of course I would change things. None of us knew what we were doing in Dynasty, but looking at my team, I was like, I kept a lot of these guys for quite a bit of time, like Kamara, Kelsey, Hopkins, Higgins, Kupp. They were on my team for 2 years here. Lawrence ended up getting traded away. We'll talk about that. Same with a couple other of these guys. I do have one big mistake that I was like, if I could change one pick, it'd be that one. It would be the Deshaun Watson pick. So I can't remember at what point.
Too much of a homer.
Yeah, so I went to Clemson. Deshaun was a great college QB. Won Clemson and Natty. It was fun.
He was good in Texas too when he was in the Texans.
He was great. Yeah, when he came in his rookie season, that was my first year playing fantasy, 2017 ever. Never played fantasy before. I picked him up in like a single QB PPR. No one was people were like, "What are you doing? Why are you picking up a rookie?" This is before I even thought of dynasty. And in 2017, I think he just came in the third week of the season and replaced some awful quarterback that Texans were doing and lit it up. They had Will Fuller, DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm looking at his stats now, 35 points 3 times in his rookie season.
You mean Amari Cooper? They didn't have DeAndre Hopkins at the Browns.
No. This was the Texans.
Oh, that's right. It was the Texans. That's right. Yeah. I got all mixed up.
And so he tore it up, and then that's when he tore his ACL after the crazy Seattle game or something. Yeah. Oh, it was so frustrating. But so I was high on Deshaun Watson for sure. And then fast forward to 2021, this is when he had that contract dispute with Texans that he didn't want to sign or whatever, and the owner of the team made some comments that he didn't like or whatever. And I think at this point, I could be wrong. I can't remember when the news broke, but he was just sitting out the season, doing a contract holdout players do all the time. And I was like, all right, I'll take a chance on it. He's still a good quarterback, whatever. And then, like I said, I can't remember if it was before or after, but that's when his whole scandal with the legal stuff came out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wow, how could you have that guy in your team? And feels really bad. It's even worse though. Well, it's not worse. It feels also bad that it's he hasn't been good at football and or available for at least 2 years on my team. The year that he held out, then the year suspension, and I'm pretty sure he only played 3 games when he came back. And then last season was supposed to be okay, let's see what he's got.
Oh yeah, and he didn't even play though. He was suspended late into the season, right?
Yeah, I mean he was suspended for I think 10 or 11 games in 2022. Yeah. So just waited forever for this guy to be relevant again.
Whoa.
And
we're not on that season yet. We can't look at his stats.
That's true. But anyway,
one thing I will say is looking at this draft, for sure last year, this is a team that would have made playoffs. So I'm excited to hear about all the success you had with this team after such a great startup draft. Because this team might even make playoffs this year in our league. So this looks like a really good dynasty draft. So you seem to be a manager that really knows what you're doing.
Oh man, you're setting me up to knock him down, aren't you?
I'm just complimenting. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, great first 5 picks, and then I guess it's time to go look at the 2021 season, isn't it?
Yeah, let's go look at the season. Let's dive in.
So from my recollection, things were going smooth. I was winning. I was having fun. With or without Deshaun, I had Matthew Stafford, thankfully, and lo and behold, first place in the regular season.
Yeah, do you remember anything? Is there anything that stands out from the 2021 season, other than winning a championship, obviously?
Travis Kelce's a beast. I was really loving that pick. Matthew Stafford, he saved my butt.
That was the Super Bowl year, right?
That was the Super Bowl year, and I have Cooper Kupp. So that stack was amazing. Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown, most receptions, most yards, and most touchdowns. He was amazing. I mean, looking at his stats for 2021.
That was the year that he was just absolutely bonkers, right?
I mean, he scored nearly 300 fantasy points.
Jeez.
Maybe stat check who the next closest was in 2021, because it was QB numbers, CMC kind of numbers. It was nuts.
Yeah, I'll look that up. Let's see. Players. Yeah, I mean, I remember how insane Cooper Kupp was that year. And you drafted him in the 4th round, I think. So that's decent value for a guy who's ending the season as wide receiver 1.
So just for reference, I stat checked this real quick. Christian McCaffrey, we all remember how good he was in 2023, right?
Yeah.
324 points. Cooper Kupp had 297 in 2021.
I'm looking at stats from 2021. Oh, we were quarter point PPR. So
okay.
So this makes the difference because the stats are showing up now. Cooper Kupp got 367 in our current league scoring, and which was 67 more than the second most, which was Debo, and he was 20 points more than Devontae, who was third.
Wow!
And he had almost, and granted it was his rookie year, but he had almost 100 more points than Justin Jefferson at number 4. So,
wow, yeah,
that's pretty insane.
Yeah, he was unreal. I mean, I remember getting trade offers for him left and right, and I was like, I'm riding this guy to the championship because he was unstoppable. I mean, he stayed healthy the whole year. That's a big thing too. So I would say those 3 guys really buoyed my team because Alvin Kamara, yeah, he was good. He wasn't special that year. And then we can pop over to the trades to see what else was special about that season because, active trader. I got a little tired making all these highlights here.
Yeah, I'm sure you highlighted a lot every single year. You're definitely got a lot of stamps on your trader rewards card.
Jeez. Well, I do want to stake this claim as the first trade in the league. Me and Ryan holding it down. Pretty sure we talked about this one. We did a little pick swap for 2022 in the 2021 season, and let's just say I came ahead on that one. Even though I didn't reap the rewards, I traded that pick away, but yeah, he got 112. So
yeah, that's an instant dub right there. Bet on your team and win.
Yeah, it's bitten me before, or later I should say, but
and that's funny because the next trade right after that was an epic fail.
It really was. I think I talked about this one on Blake's episode, but Cordell Patterson picked him up on waivers, like 30-year-old running back, making a splash. And I was like, there's no way this lasts. Blake goes, I'll send you a third. I'm like, do it. Let's go. And sure enough, he went on like top 10 running back for the season. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I didn't need him in terms of like winning the championship. But, oh, my gosh, could have had him.
It is funny in the grand scheme of things. Blake didn't make playoffs, and I think Blake was like the second team, like the second to last team, and you won. So it's like ultimately it was a good deal for you. It was a bad deal for Blake because he didn't perform and he lost the draft pick. But it was funny because within that season, had that happened with any other team, it might have played a difference. But with the teams that took place, it just didn't actually matter.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, looking back on it though, I think it would have prevented me from making some of these other trades because. Yeah, one of the biggest trades I made this season, and this is probably the only one worth talking. Well, there's 2 worth talking about. I made a trade for DeAndre Swift, who was at the time a first-round startup pick. I mean, he's like a 21-year-old running back. He's looking really good. So I sent a haul for him. Well, looking back on it, it's not crazy.
It wasn't as much of a haul back then as it is. I mean, It's less of a haul now than last season. Last season, that was a massive haul what you sent away.
But yeah, I sent Trevor Lawrence, Tony Pollard, and a 2022 first-round pick from Ryan, the one I got, for DeAndre Swift and Daniel Jones, who was dropped shortly after. Not a big deal. But yeah, it was DeAndre Swift. And, hey, he was good on my roster. I can't remember how much points he scored, but he did enough to help me have a good season. The other trades here, I think there's one worth talking about, don't you say?
Yeah. I hate looking at that trade.
I know we've talked about it. But we'll just touch on it briefly. I did not send the trade. I didn't do it. I had Hunter Henry. He was on a tear, putting up some touchdowns, and the tight end landscape at the time was pretty bleak. It was Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and George Kittle. That was it. Everyone else was like, because there was no Sam Laportas. There was none of those young guys. Evan Ingram was a bust at that point. And so
the tight end landscape really is so much better now than it was back then.
Totally. Because Hunter Henry was good. I mean, I think he was still in the Chargers,
Yeah.
maybe. Or maybe first year
No,
on
no, no.
the Patriots.
He was still on the Patriots.
Okay. But he was a good tight end. Like, very good NFL. Fantasy-wise, he was having a hot streak, so I'll give him that. But I sent him away to get Devin Singletary, who was on the Bills, right? Yeah.
Was he on the Bills then? That sounds right.
Yeah, he was on the Bills.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But get this. I think that trade made sense. Hunter Henry for Devin Singletary. But I also got a 2023 first-round pick. So, yeah. That
Crazy.
trade almost broke the league. Maybe
I remember
that bad.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to hear about it if he listens to this episode. Riley still hears about it today. Like, it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take for him to live that down. It might always live in the lore of this league, but yeah, that he'll never live that one down.
No, he will not. So that one's kind of funny just to look back on because, yeah, it's always referenced as the butt of every trade joke. It's like, oh, it's not as bad as the Hunter Henry trade. So that's pretty funny. But, yeah, I'm happy to go back and check out the league and how it ended up. So my team name that year, can't remember when I changed it, probably late. But
probably after you won it.
I don't know if I was that low. But if you ain't first, you're last. And sure enough, first place in regular season. And then at the time, we had 2-week playoffs for the championship. Luckily, I was top seed, so I got to squeak in and not even play week 14. Got to sit from the sidelines and watch you guys beat each other up. Week 15 came in, took care of business, but I remember this matchup being a little weird because I had dropped someone right before that game. It was Rashad Penny. He blew up. I don't even know if you remember this.
I do. Yeah. I mean, he was so bad all season, then all of a sudden he had like a spurt of like, oh, is this guy actually good?
Yeah. So week 14. So the week before I played Josh, Rashad Penny came to life. 16 carries, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns, along with, one catch. That doesn't matter. But 26 points. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, I had traded for this guy earlier in the season, but dropped him because I was like, what a bum. And then sure enough, Josh played him against me in his flex, and he put up 4.9. And I was like, yes!
It was like a total revenge game for Rashad Penny, and he did what he did the rest of his career. It was just
for real. But look at this. I didn't even realize this. Travis Kelce, 10 for 191 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was insanity.
That's amazing.
And then Cooper Kupp doing what he does, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, my team came through when it counted for that one. Wow.
Yeah, that's that was the semifinals, right?
Yeah, I was starting Taysom Hill at QB. I wonder why that was. Oh, I think I was just getting cute. Yeah, I just got cute there. That was crazy. But moving forward, I matched up with Harlan. Rest in peace, Harlan. I got him for a 2-week matchup, and I took week 1.
How did week 1? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So he ended up making it close at the end of it.
Yeah, I think the grand finale, I think we were only off by less than 10 points. So,
oh wow,
pretty close matchup.
Yeah.
Definitely had me shaken, but yeah, I remember watching the last couple snaps of his games. I want to say Najee Harris was like his last hope, and he scored like 27, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna happen. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh jeez. I mean, there's some big games in here. So, defense coming in clutch with 25 points.
Real. Wow.
But
man,
that was year 1. I mean, it was a lot. How many trades did I make? That's got to be my question here.
Was
1,
9?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trades.
10. Wow.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, a really good startup draft, dominant first year. Like, I mean, keep telling us how the dynasty improves. What happens next?
Yeah, so a lot of turnover on my team. I mean, looking at the startup, I think 5 of those picks.
Well, actually, yeah. Let's see how do you have like the full team? How it looked at the end of the season? There we go.
Yeah. So some familiar faces: Hopkins, Kelce, Deshaun was still there, rotting away. Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford carried me, and then the rest of the team. Honestly, Like T. Higgins was still there, but everyone else, my team was like a revolving door.
That's a good squad even down to T. Higgins. Like that's a pretty deep squad of I guess Robbie Chosen, I think is his name now, is the only one up there. Everyone else down to line 18 are a solid roster.
Yeah, but
you can't, and then Chicago and Seattle. So we'll count the defenses. That means you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on that roster that are like bad, and the rest are like, okay, these are actually good players.
Yeah, Rojo. Oh, the hope I had for Rojo. That was what could have been for him. But yeah, overall, I was happy with 21. You know, you win a championship. That was my first big-time championship, I feel like. And then something just didn't feel, though. It didn't feel good, though. You know, we were still getting acclimated to Dynasty. So
yeah.
I'd like to tell you about 2022 and what went wrong.
I can't wait to hear.
So let's start with the rookie draft, yeah?
Yeah, let's see it.
So, yes, I did not have my first-round pick. And as a matter of fact, I didn't have a first-round pick. I actually traded in. I was watching the draft go along here, and I was like, man, I know I just won the championship, but I'm bored, you know? And when you're on top, you're just looking down. It gets a little lonely. So I sent a first-round pick in the following year, so 2023, and a second-round pick to get 111 and David Njoku, a tight end. So with that pick, I was watching patiently, you know, Breece Hall, Drake London, Treylon Burks, a couple good running backs, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and then here comes Zach Garcia with 3 picks. I'm sandwiched in there at the 3 spot. He took, in order, Jamison Williams, Sky Moore, and then I was staring at George Pickens and Christian Watson. And I was like, I know Pickens had a up and down time at Georgia, but I know the talent's there. If he could just get his head together, you know. So I went with him. And everyone gave Zach so much crap for letting me take him because he took Christian Watson after. But George Pickens, he's looked the part for the most part. He's unfortunately had to deal with some pretty bad QB play. Kenny Pickett, not well known for his quarterback play.
Yeah.
And then it looks like I had some other picks too. I had Romeo Doubs taken in the second round there and David Bell, hoping for a Cleveland stack with Deshaun, but
yeah,
never really panned out.
Well, and so if we're keeping track of your roster at this point, then you know I think we said at the end of last season there were probably 6 roster spots that were filled with, we'll call it, junk. Romeo Doubs, George Pickens, for that you're down to like 4 roster spots that are filled with junk. So I mean, the way I see your roster's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, for sure. Can't remember how it performed. I'll pop over, probably a good refresh here, because the league standings probably tells a good story. And it was frustrating.
7.
I rededicated my team midway through the season after I rage quit a little bit to Super Team 2025. So just called my shot there.
So, yeah, I guess we'll see on the trade tracker, but I want to. How did the season start out though? Did you start out like losing multiple games, like 0-4 or something like that?
Let's go take a look. Looks like week 1 loss, week 2 close loss to you, week 3 loss. So 0-3. I picked up a W. Picked up another
2-3.
2-4.
3-4.
Got the tanking team. Always a pleasure.
4-4 back to 500.
4-5. Now, here's where things get dicey. 4-6, and I'm pretty sure week 11 is our trade deadline, right?
I think that sounds right. Might be 12.
So I picked up a win. So I was sitting at what? 5-6.
5-6, yeah.
At week 11. So I needed to make some moves. Well, maybe I didn't, but I did. And I think that's where sometimes I can be my own worst enemy.
Emotionally, you needed to.
Yeah, and I can't remember where I made some of my moves. We can go check out the trade tracker. But week 11 of 2022 is where, it started feeling make and break. The standings were pretty tight, as you guys saw. I mean, third place was 10-4, but below that it was 9-5, 9-5, 8-6, 7-7, 6-8, 5-9. So there was a couple teams in that like mid-range zone where we drew the cutoff for sixth place, getting into that last playoff spot. And I think I do remember the play that broke my back, but I want to go look at the trades first, just to remind me of the pain. You guys are just sitting there laughing. So the bottom one's covered. That was the pre-draft trade, the first and second for Njoku and George Pickens.
And then your yearly trade for Robbie Chosen.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Back and forth. I love it. This one's interesting. Christian loves to talk about this one now. I like to talk about it at the time because I think it worked out for me just fine. It was Treylon Burks for Cortland Sutton. I had Cortland Sutton, and he picked Treylon Burks at 103. Now, this is only 3 weeks into the season. He was out. He didn't want Burks anymore, so I was like, Sutton's not cracking my starting lineup. I was like, I'll take a young rookie with some promise, and I happily made that trade, and it
worked out better. I mean, so far it's worked out better for Christian than it has you, though.
It has. That season, though, I remember Cortland Sutton being plagued with bad QB play. I think that was the first year that Russ Wilson was there, and man, were they bad. They were really bad.
Yeah, it's true.
But Burks couldn't stay healthy, never really put many good games together, and we'll find out what happened to him later. But, yeah, he's just kind of mid. So nothing noteworthy here. Sent away Jared Goff. Wish I'd have kept him. Here's the trade that I definitely regret. There's two that I regret in here, one more than the other, and here it is. I sent away Travis Kelce. Now, he's 34 now, so 2 years ago he would have been 32.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the wheels to fall off, I mean, that's the constant balance of dynasty is like, how do I keep my team young but producing and competitive? And this is the one that I'm like, this guy should just fade into glory on my roster because all I got in return was Dallas Goedert and a first-round pick. And it just doesn't feel like enough. It wasn't.
No. It's a great deal for Christian.
Great deal. Worked out super well for him. Not this season, but the next. But, man, that one stung. The next one stung, too. DeAndre Hopkins, he was rudely traded to the Cardinals. I think the Texans did him dirty. But he was hurt for like 8 weeks of the season. Or, no, he was suspended. That's right. He had a little PED violation, so he was suspended for 6 or 7 games, maybe 8. So he came back mid-October, must have been 6, and he put up one good game. He's also like 30. So I'm like, his best days are behind him. Kyler Murray, he's a little scrambly quarterback, not going to be able to sustain a wide receiver 1. And there's this young guy named Rashad Bateman doing some good things. Probably not, actually. Doing some things. And I was like, I'm going to take a flyer on this guy. Again, trying to get younger because I got Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins. I was feeling pretty old. And so for some reason I felt the need to get a little younger here. And Bateman, the very next week, broke his foot and was out the rest of the season. And Hopkins went on to be a very, very good wide receiver.
For what it's worth, I mean, Bateman, he got 12.9, 18.8, 4.9, 3.2, 6.2, and then done for the year.
Yeah. What did Hopkins do from like week, 7 on?
Let's see. I mean, I think he had a pretty incredible year that year. That was we're 2022, right?
I want to say he was like wide receiver 7.
Let's see, 2022, 7 on. Oh, he played his first game week 7 that year, yeah. So it's 15.3, 27.9, 11.6, 14.8, 13.6, 16.7, 9.4, 9.4.9. So a lot better than Bateman, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, anything better, more than 0 is better than better than that. So that one stung, but the Kelsey one, that's the one that stings the most. And I'm counting these up because I made another one. I don't hate this one. J.K. Dobbins got hurt. I traded him away. Whatever.
Yeah.
Or no, I got J.K. Dobbins. That's what it was.
This was after his first Achilles tear.
Yeah,
you were like, I want some more Achilles tears on this roster.
That's right. I think I was out of it at this point. Yeah. It was right at the trade deadline, so I was probably sitting at that 5-6, staring down the barrel of not making playoffs. So I was like, screw it.
You love trade deadline trades, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, no more. Yeah, no more for me.
We'll talk. We'll talk in November. I'm sure we'll make something happen. So your team, you held your core team together until about the end of October, and then you went like 2011 Mavs and you just ripped them apart. You're like, no, I'm sick and tired of championships. Like, let's start over.
Yeah, got rid of Kelsey, got rid of Hopkins. So that was a tough blow, And I think what it came down to, though, that season, I think there was a chance for me to make playoffs, and I think this is the season where I was right on the cusp, and Dallas Goedert, all I needed was for him to get
yes.
2 points, 2 more points, and I win the game. Like, it's Monday Night Football, the matchup, my opponent, I can't remember who it was, their team's done. All I have left is Dallas Goedert. It's fourth quarter, maybe third, whatever. He makes a catch, like 10 yards, 20 yards, whatever it was. He got the points he needed. As he's making a play after the catch, he gets tackled. He fumbles the ball, loses it, -2. So he basically wiped out his points. Then to make matters worse, I think it was like second quarter or something, because I'm like, okay, we'll survive. He gets shaken up on the play. He doesn't come back, and I lose.
Yeah, that's the worst bad break I think I've seen.
And then
that's tough.
Mathematically, I think I might have had if 5 people lose next week, I could still make it. But I basically sealed my fate in playoffs, and I was so mad. Yeah, that one was probably my worst bad beat, just because of how it happened. I mean, I think if Goddard would have put up a goose egg in that game, whatever, I can live with that. But the fact that he got the points he needed and then fumbled it, I was done. I was like, this is not fun. So yeah, Super Team 2025 was rededicated because I came in 7th place, and that hurt. First time missing playoffs. I mean, League Year 2, so it wasn't a big deal. But
I mean, you were the reigning champ, so that's tough to go from reigning champ to not even making the playoffs.
No doubt, but it sealed the fact that we would have a new champion. So
you're one of the. I guess you have a fan base that's, if you're not, it doesn't matter when you last won a championship. If you're not competing now, everything needs to be redone. That's how it works over there at the Timco dynasty.
It's true. And then to make matters worse, I saw one of my arch nemesis, you, make some swindle trades and still end up making playoffs after you're trying to tank and it didn't work. And man, that was a fiasco. But
like I said, I love revisiting the 2022 season because I get to see that comment every time.
Yeah, well, let's go to the end of season. So I want to point out one person because this is relevant. At the end of my 2021 season, I had a guy named Raheem Mostert.
Or end of the 2022 season.
At the end of the 2021. But after, you won't see this on the trade tracker. That's why I got to pull it up here.
Okay.
After I missed playoffs, I was doing a little shaking and baking, still trying to get my team younger. And Raheem Mostert is not young by football standards. So after playoffs were finalized, I was like, you know what? Let me take some flyers on these young kids. So I dropped Raheem Mostert in favor of Jerome Ford, I believe it was. Maybe Zamir White. And, logical thing to do. A 31-year-old running back on a team that, wasn't great. I mean, the Dolphins were they're going to win this season. But, I was like, let's just shed some dead weight and get some younger guys. And I'm happy with that choice. I wasn't mad about it. Now, I think other people were like,
everyone thought you were silly for doing that. You just dropped Raheem Mostert for no reason.
No, I dropped him for a person. So
yeah, I know.
It wasn't.
Yeah. No, I know you just explained yourself, but I stand with my statement.
Well, let me ask you this. I know it didn't happen this way, but if Raheem Mostert would have done what Raheem Mostert does in like the next season, he has a couple great weeks and then he blows out his knee, would anyone have thought I'm crazy?
Maybe not, but it was just unnecessary risk.
Can you stat check what Raheem Mostert was finishing in 2022?
I'm pretty sure he had a decent end of the season too.
I think he might have, but keep in mind, I probably dropped him like November, so like.
Okay, here's starting week 13. 4.9. Yeah, let's start a little bit earlier. We're going to start week 7. 18.9, 18.9, 7.2, 8.6, 16.7. Bye week, I think he was hurt. Then 3, 4.9, 16.1, 3.9, 19.1, 7.1. So you're basically dropping him after or was this before the trade deadline or after? No, this was into the season.
It was after, yeah.
Yeah, so you're dropping him after he has like a 16-point week and I guess a 3-point week, a 19-point week. So he's going off when you decide, now this guy's good, but not good enough for my roster. This roster that doesn't want Travis Kelce, it doesn't need Raheem Mostert either.
No, it did not. And I got allergic to winning towards the end, and the points were just giving me the hives, so I couldn't stand it. I didn't want to win the toilet bowl. I wanted to lose the toilet bowl. That's what I wanted. And I think that mind, it was almost like Inception, where someone went in there multiple layers deep and planted a seed that winning was bad.
Yeah.
And that I needed to pick up hopefuls instead of proven players.
So then at the end of this 2022 season, you put trading big players away out, and you won't do it again. And so that starts your 2023 season. So let's go into your 2023 season.
That's right. I'm sticking with the Zonovan Knights, Jerome Fords. Those are my stands,
No more trading away these players who are proven.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were some good things that happened in 2023. Let's look at this draft, because I think there was one particularly good thing here. Actually, two, but I had picks 205, 212. Well, I think I traded for that one, and then 310, 311. Okay, so not much to work with. I got rid of that first round pick. I don't know why. Can't remember, but here we are. I was sitting at 205, and all these A&M people in the league didn't like...
7 Aggies in this league.
7 Aggies who didn't want their guy, Devon Achane. And I was happy to take him. So he fell to me at 205, and I'm pretty sure he was a late first in a lot of mock drafts. Now, those come and go, as the season goes on, but there was something that you guys pointed out. He got hurt pretty much like the day of or day before, shoulder injury, something like that. I think he sprained an AC joint or something like that. But he got hurt. And of course, all the he's too small, he's going to get hurt, he's going to get beat up. I mean, he's like 190 pounds playing running back, where the typical size is like 210, 220. I was like, whatever. So I took him. I didn't think anything of it. And then I got some other scrubs. But I got Sam Howell. I was really happy with this pick. Deshaun Watson, as you know, has been constantly letting me down. But I picked up Sam Howell, who was a free agent, not a rookie. But he was in there, and I was like, you know what? This guy's got the starting gig in Washington. Let's see what he does. So that was my draft.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I passed on Achane thrice. 3 times I could have drafted him, and I passed every single time. So
wait, who'd you take instead?
Which one?
The second and third one.
Michael Mayer and Jalen Hyatt, neither of which are on my roster anymore.
No particular reason I asked. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh,
all right.
Man.
So how did, I guess, anything specific stand out in the 2023 season? Just, how did that compare to the 2022 season? More winning, more losing, about the same?
I remember a lot about this season. Being just last year, it's very burned in my head. It would be a good word. So as you know, or may know, Cooper Kupp got hurt. He pulled a hammy in training camp.
Yep.
He was iffy of when he was coming back. And then everyone knows this for sure. What happened to Aaron Rodgers 4 snaps into the season?
Yep, torn Achilles.
And then what happened to J.K. Dobbins in week 2?
Torn Achilles. Yeah, look at that. You wanted more. You wanted more Achilles tears on your roster, and you got them last year. That's huge for you.
Let's look at my roster week 2. I'm starting Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played football in who knows how long. DeAndre Swift, doing amazing things on the Eagles. Love that. T. Higgins, we'll talk about this guy later. Dallas Goedert, definitely no Kelsey. Treylon Burks, meh. George Pickens, hey,
George
my
Pickens.
guy doing George Pickens things, and never had a good defense, so that's always annoying. But look at my bench, Sam Howell. I was like, oh, look at this guy. He was doing pretty good things, but my running back room was just decimated. You know, Jeff Wilson, I think he was on IR. Singletary got traded.
If only you had a good running back from the previous season, that would have helped. Someone like Raheem Mostert would have fit that roster well.
Raheem Mostert would have done well. Achane, my newly acquired toy, doing terrible things. 1.4. I was like, this guy's a bust.
I think he might have got hurt that game.
I think one of them, yeah. But yeah, Cooper Kupp, my little Cooper Kupp, not in there. And then Jamison Williams was suspended. Bateman was just being Bateman. Yeah, the rest of my roster was very forgettable. I think this is the week that was really frustrating. As you can see, I lost by a whopping 35 points, but if we check out the roster, I could have won that game pretty easily. I had one Devon Achane on my bench getting 49 points.
That's crazy.
What did he score last week? 1.4?
I was you wouldn't have started him.
No. Anyway, so that's how the season was starting. My starting, quarterback, who was Aaron Rodgers, because I was like, Deshaun Watson is not great. I need something better. So I got Aaron Rodgers. I had J.K. Dobbins from a trade the end of last year. He was going to be good. I mean, he had a great week 1, and then week 2 he got hurt. And then Cooper Kupp, destroying still. There was a silver lining, though. I picked up a guy before the season. Puka Nacua. No one heard of him. And I got him. But that wasn't helping me week to week. I had started off 1-3. No, 2-2. 3-2. Hey, looking good. 4-2. 4-3. 4-4.
Oof, up and down.
4-5.
Well, what a losing streak.
5-5. And then it starts getting into the nitty-gritty. Trade deadline. We'll talk about that.
Sitting at 5-6 at the trade deadline once again after a better start than the previous year.
And then you guys can just see this going through. I just keep getting stacked up against some of the best teams in the league. Mostly Josh Rich, obviously.
Wow.
And then, I lost some tough ones. But I want to go back to week 10.
That one against me didn't look like a tough loss. That just looked like a massive beatdown. So.
Oh, I think it was week 9, actually. Yeah, that one was a beatdown. But you're right. I made some more moves. Should we head to the trade tracker to check those out?
Please. I'm dying for this. I've been waiting for this trade tracker all season. All off season, I guess I should say.
It's very bright. It's very bright up in here. So I would have almost every single one of these trades back.
This trade. Oh my gosh. I can't believe you did this.
So if you guys remember, I dropped Raheem Mostert, I'm pretty sure, for Jerome Ford. I got Jerome Ford. What happened week 2 or whatever to Nick Chubb? Broke his leg. So suddenly this Jerome Ford guy, I think he was a Cincinnati player or whatever, University of Cincinnati. He was great. He came in and he wasn't Nick Chubb, but he was definitely serviceable, and I think he ended up finishing like RB20. But before the draft, I really wanted Jameson Williams. The hype was building. I knew he had like a 4-game suspension. So did Alvin Kamara, by the way. He was suspended for his Vegas fight. And then Jerome Ford, who I was like, he's behind Nick Chubb. He's probably not going to do anything.
Just a handcuff.
So I remember working this trade with Zach at the retreat, the Dynasty retreat. I was like, look, Jameson Williams for Alvin Kamara. But he was like, I want Jerome Ford because he had Nick Chubb. I was like, all right, makes sense. I was like, and we were talking about putting conditions on the trade. Whether that was right or wrong, we're like, okay, if someone's suspension gets, longer or something, because I don't think Alvin Kamara was suspended at the time. He was like, if it's longer than 4 weeks, we'll trade back or something like that. I can't remember. But I was like, if I include Jerome Ford, can we just like call off the conditions and it happens straight up, like no conditions? And he's like, okay, deal. So that's what we did. And Jerome Ford thrust into action week 2 or week 3. Alvin Kamara's suspension went as planned. It was like 4 games or something, very minimal. And then, they did what they do. And Jameson Williams was a woulda, coulda, shoulda, kind of hopeful all season long.
Yeah.
I made another one. I sent away Romeo Dobbs to get Roschon Johnson. Hasn't quite panned out.
Well, I thought you drafted you. Oh, that was during the draft, though. You drafted Roschon. Yeah, you drafted Roschon Johnson.
Exactly. But next trade was kind of a wash. J.K. Dobbins got hurt. I was like, I need roster space, so I shipped him off to get Jeff Wilson. Cool. Next trade is where the pain starts setting in. I desperately needed running backs. I lost J.K. Dobbins. I dropped Raheem Mostert. I traded away Alvin Kamara and Jerome Ford. So I'm basically starting DeAndre Swift and Singletary. I'm like, I need some more firepower. So I was eyeing up Jonathan Taylor. He just got moved from Corey to Zach. And Zach basically declared I'm tanking. At least that's what his trades were implicating. So I hit him up. And he's like, what about this Puka Nacua guy? And I was like, yeah, he's available. As you guys know, I have Cooper Kupp. I was like, it's 5 weeks into the season. He's come on strong. He's doing good things. Like no one's talking about him breaking records yet, but they're like people are starting to like raise some eyebrows. Like this guy's good, and I was like, yeah.
I don't know. I think you're underplaying how good he was. He was doing pretty amazing at that point.
Give me the first 5 weeks of the season. Stat checker.
Are you sure you want me to do that?
I do, just to remind myself of the pain.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you feel that way. All right, first 5 weeks of the 2024 or 2023 season. Puka, who finished wide receiver 4, just note that.
Son of a gun.
16.9, 22.6, 9.7, 26.8, 16.6. That's the first 5 weeks. So,
wish I wouldn't have heard that. I didn't think it was sustainable, quite frankly. I looked at the guy's college stuff. He was hurt like half of his college career. He played for like BYU or someone. Like I was like, there's a reason this guy wasn't drafted high.
That's a D1 program, just to remind you.
So are the Aggies, but they're terrible.
We have a Devon Achane on your team as an Aggie, okay? So let's cut that out.
You guys obviously didn't believe in the program of work or either drafted him. I digress. I was like, I don't think it's sustainable. I think this guy's going to get hurt. As it was, he was like questionable every week from like rib injuries. I remember it because like I'm like, this dude's like, I had him in redraft, so I was like, I know what it was like. And
you really are allergic to winning, aren't you?
I really am.
Like, and just that cue, the cue next to the player, like I got to get rid of this guy.
But like, I picked him up on waivers, so that was like, I was like, okay, Jonathan Taylor, elite running back. Now he's had some injuries, he's had some contract standoffs, whatever, but he was literally RB1 2 years ago at this time.
Yeah, we had one good year, and then the other years have been kind of sketchy, but sure.
He's a good running back. I think
He's a good running back. He is.
Like, top 5 if fully healthy for a full season. I think that's fair to say.
A lot of qualifiers on there.
It is, and that's why I was putting qualifiers on Puka. I was like, yeah, if this guy stays healthy, if Cooper Kupp gets, because Cooper Kupp was still coming back from injury. He was getting eased in. I remember that too, because I was like, let me start this guy. So all those things combined with I picked him up off free agents. Literally cost me $0. I was like, what do I have to lose? I was like, I didn't spend anything on him, so I was like, sure, let's do it.
You didn't spend a single dollar fab on him?
I don't think I did.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I sent Puka Nacua in a 2024 first to get Jonathan Taylor, Jacoby Myers, and Geno Smith, who are all on my roster to this day, for better or for worse.
Yeah, that Jonathan Taylor trade, I know we've talked about it on a couple of the episodes, but that one hurt me because I thought I was a shoo-in for Jonathan Taylor. Like, I had the capital to get to Zach. I thought I was for sure going to get it. And then
you wanted him. I mean,
yeah, I wanted him. I traded away Isaiah Pacheco preemptively because I was expecting to get Jonathan Taylor. I was like, that's going to happen, so I'll be fine.
That's funny. It's showing up as later, or maybe it was earlier that day.
I think it was the night. I thought it was the night before.
It's coming up the same day, but
I definitely traded him away before that happened.
That's funny by Zach. Then that's really funny. Anyway, moving on. I'll take my loss there. Yes, if I could have that one back, I would. Easy to say looking back on things, but hey.
If Jonathan Taylor has an amazing season and somehow Puka disappoints, then the narrative changes. That's the thing about football. The narrative can change so fast. Right now, the narrative's against you, though.
Yeah. Let's look at the next narrative that I really hope turns. I made a splash trade. Now, I want to go back to the season because this one kind of stings. I want to say CD or someone played Thursday night football. Who was it? Someone in this trade played Thursday night football. George Pickens. George Pickens played a Thursday night game. And back to the trade, I sent away George Pickens, Dallas Goedert, a 2024 first-round pick, a 2026 first-round pick, and a third, to get one CD Lamb, Mark Andrews, a third, and some fab. Now, CD Lamb, to this point, was a wide receiver one. Yes, of course. We all know that. But he wasn't doing, amazing.
Are you sure? I'll fact check this because your facts
pull up the first 8 weeks of the season.
And so, are you sure you want me to do this?
First 8 weeks.
I think
I traded for him. He was good enough.
I know Dak played pretty poorly the first 4 weeks. So my guess is that his first 4 weeks are probably average, and then after that they take off. But let's see.
Yeah.
2023, we've got 9.7, 19.8, 8.2, 12.8, 6.9, 15.2, week 7 bye, week 8, 35, week 9, 22, week 10, 34, week 11, 13. So
all right, you can stop there.
Keep going.
No, you can stop. So there was a couple duds in there. Everyone knew he was a great player. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, you're buying low on him. I paid up for him. I paid George Pickens, who was a first-round pick, Dallas Goedert, who top 8 tight end. Sam Laporta wasn't a sure thing at this point. Yes, he had a great season, but Dallas Goedert was still relatively valuable. And then I sent 2 more first-round picks. So let's call that 3 firsts aggregate for CeeDee Lamb and Mark Andrews, at least. I traded for CeeDee Lamb, but George Pickens played on Thursday night, so the trade couldn't process before that week. Going back to that matchup, I'm pretty sure CeeDee Lamb, well, first off, George Pickens scored 0.9. I was like, yeah, this is why I traded him. I don't want this. Get off my team. Well, look who played CeeDee Lamb, and look who scored 22 points. CeeDee Lamb. Now, relevant because I lost this matchup by, not relevant. So, anyway.
40, yeah.
Yeah, but it hurt. It stings. But I was like, hey, I got CeeDee Lamb. I made a great trade. George Pickens, I'm done with you. Let's get this over with. But, Logan, that's not the end of the story, is it?
It's not the end of the story.
3 weeks later, trade deadline, I get a call from Logan. And Zach, actually.
Yeah, we just finished playing some. We just finished playing some pickleball. I think you and I had been talking, or maybe I just called you let's make a trade. I don't remember what it was, but
I don't remember. You knew that I had an infatuation with losing.
Yeah.
And allergies to points. So you must have weaseled that out, and you were like, oh, yeah, remember when you wanted Anthony Richardson? Because I did try to get him from you. I tried really hard. I sent,
A first in Aaron Rodgers. A 2024 first in Aaron Rodgers.
Pre-Achilles Aaron Rodgers.
Pre-Achilles.
You were really tempted by it, I think.
I was. I for sure was. Because at that time, I traded away Josh Allen, and so I was like, well, I'm in the QB game, so.
Yeah, and you wanted something steady. Aaron Rodgers, steady as it gets when he's healthy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked Anthony Richardson. He flashed. He obviously got hurt and ended the season early, but then there was a Drake London. He has flashed at times, but he's been plagued by bad QB play. And at the time, no one knew what was going to happen in free agency. So, it wasn't like Drake London was a sure thing, which was a little silly of me. But I also really wanted my 2024 first-round pick because I wasn't going to make playoffs again. Despite the CeeDee Lamb trade, despite him putting up points, I had a couple tough weeks, couple tough matchups. I played Josh, I played you, I played someone else, and I think I lost all three. And what was my record again? 7-7?
Was it? Oh, man.
I actually was 6-8. Couple tough losses at the end, but Blake, he had us trumped because of his points for. So even if I'd have tied him, his team went on a surge. Me and Zach Miller there were stuck, look on the outside looking in. And my points for were just low that season. I think Cooper Kupp being hurt, inconsistent tight end play after losing Kelsey. And then my quarterback, I got rid of Matt Stafford. But I was streaming Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson who was hurt most of the league or most of the season, and Sam Howell, who was the most up and down quarterback. He scored points, but some weeks he was throwing four interceptions.
He lost his position on Washington by the end of the season.
He did. He was just so up and down. So I couldn't handle it. And then, it just bit me. My points for, it was a little bit of Russian roulette of who's going to bite you. And my points for showed it. I mean, Achane was great, but then he was in and out of the lineup too with injuries. So, I regret this one too. I take that back. I don't regret it. Jury's out. We'll wait and see.
I agree. I think I paid a lot for CD. I think the position my team was in, I think it makes sense for my team. But I do fear having buyer's regret this coming season because, Drake London is potentially in a really good position with Kirk Cousins. And in the same place, I have Kirk Cousins on my team. So it's if I want Kirk Cousins to do well, I almost have to root for, Drake London to do well. And so I feel like I paid a lot for CeeDee Lamb. I feel like I kind of overpaid, but you had the leverage there. So I don't know. It feels like the sentiment was you lost the trade, but I think you got a lot of value for the trade. It's one of those things that it's probably not going to end up being with that amount of value in the trade. I don't think there's not a place where it comes out even. I guess maybe if Anthony Richardson's really good and Drake London's bad, if one of them is, and Rome is who you drafted with that. If Rome Oduzze is bad, I guess some combination can be even, but it feels like it's either going to be one of us is clearly going to win, but I don't think we can determine that yet.
Yeah. So I don't think I'd do it again. Just seeing CeeDee Lamb rise up the ranks. He finished as the wide receiver 1. He's now thought of as a top 3 dynasty asset in single QB. He, Justin Jefferson, and then Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra. I think those are the consensus top 4 wide receivers. You have 2 of them. Makes your team pretty scary. Drake London's sitting around wide receiver 12 for what it's worth.
Well, the same way you felt about George Pickens is how I felt about Drake London. I would start him and he'd put up 1 point. I'd bench him, he'd put up 25. I'd start him, he'd put up 6, and it was back and forth. And the same again, I think the trade by me was fueled by indecision. So a lot of the stuff that you were feeling throughout the year is kind of what was behind that trade for me.
Yeah. So you know what it's like. You also know what it's like to have some of those trades that it's we'll see how this turns out. So
yeah,
we'll see on that one. Looking at the end of my season roster, some more turnover here. I was picking up some young guns just for hopefulness. But yeah, I'd say I kind of just learned my lesson of dropping people randomly. So I kept a lot of these, like Sam Howell, Jamison Williams, Treylon Burks, despite their frustration. Like Rashad Bateman again, like was so frustrating.
Yeah.
I kept them. So I was like, you know what? Lick my wounds, go back. We'll be all right. So that's how that ended up.
So then let's just get a quick peek at the 2024 draft that we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so this one was exciting for me. I was sitting at 104 with my original pick that I got back from Logan. However, I knew that in one QB, the top 3 receivers were the consensus 1, 2, 3. And I have Mark Andrews, and I was like, and Njoku, for what it's worth. I mean, he was top 8 tight end. I was like, I don't want to be staring at Brock Bowers come 104. And yes, there's lots of talent behind him, but it's more of a reach to go with those guys way back there. Like, I knew I wanted receiver or running back, and I didn't feel like Jonathan Brooks was worth it at 104.
Yeah.
And I didn't think like a Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy type was worth it either. And I know we're transitioning to Superflex in 2027, but I was like, I don't want to waste 3 years on my roster with Caleb Williams if I feel like I'm okay at quarterback now that I have Anthony Richardson. So I made a simple move to get up to 103. I sent 104 and Treylon Burks. I think Zach got good value. You know, he's got Will Levis. So he's like, yeah, if this works out, I have a QB wide receiver stack. Worst case scenario, I got a little roster clogger that I can decide what to do with later. He's taxi eligible for one more season. We have up to 3 years on the taxi. And, yeah, I moved up one spot.
Yeah. I think it's worth it. I mean, we'll see on Rome Odunze. If he pans out, then it's a good ad. I mean, again, those higher picks, you have a higher chance of them, panning out. So we'll see. Yeah.
So I think Rome was a great prospect. I did make a push to get Malik Neighbors, airing out some DMs here, but me and Ryan were going back and forth, and I was trying to get it from him. He named his price for me to move up. I think his price when I was sitting at 104, his price was 104 in DeAndre Swift to get up to 102. And I was like, I think I need DeAndre Swift. A little rich for me. I didn't do it. There may have been other ideas floated around there, but I didn't want to do that. It might have cost me like a future first as well. And I was like, to move up 2 spots, I didn't think it was worth it. And I think I stand by that. I really did want Malik Neighbors, though. Zach didn't budge either. Got his guy. So here we are. It is unfortunate for Ryan, though, knowing what his draft could have been, but that's another conversation. That's for next season, Ryan.
Yeah, and it looks like you got another pick there in the first too.
I did. So I was watching the draft. The draft was fun, as always. Our newcomer, Wesley, had a plethora of picks, and he was making some moves here and there. He looks like he picked up Brian Thomas. And then Corey, my guy Corey, picked Trey Benson at 109 before Jonathan Brooks. Now, Jonathan Brooks is hurt. I'll give him that. Promising prospect, but the injury complicates things. He also went to the Panthers, traditionally not a good team. Questionable offense, new system coming in, upgraded offensive line, but no one knows how it's going to pan out. And then Bryce Young was terrible last year, so whatever.
Yep.
Whereas Trey Benson is going into a decent offensive system. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., some better offensive minds. So just needs to get over the hurdle of James Conner. So anyway, I saw the opportunity. I sent Wesley a 2025 first and a 2026 second, I think, is what the trade was. I don't know if it'll tell us here. Anyway, but I had to jump for Jonathan Brooks because, like I said, I was contemplating him at 104, but I was like, it's just a little too soon.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I don't have to worry about those picks till next year, and then maybe 2 years from now if it was 2026 at the time. So I was like, you know what? Let's just win now. I think Jonathan Brooks is going to come on strong at the back end of the season, so that's my hope.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say, as much as you tore your roster apart, I think you've been able to rebuild it pretty quickly with a team that could be formidable. I think you would agree that it's a team that is either going to fall to pieces or reach for the stars. So I there's a lot of potential on your roster now, but a lot of unknowns too.
Yeah, I don't know about the fall to pieces part. I think that can happen for anything. But yes, there are a couple players.
You got a lot of injury players, and Anthony Richardson injury prone, Jonathan Taylor injury prone, Devon Achane injury prone, Drake London's been up and down. So Mark Andrews, I think he might be out to start the season. Maybe, who knows? Injured last year, so I stand by
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, exactly. So I stand by the fall to pieces. You picked up Zay Flowers here recently, which I can't believe Zach gave him to you.
So I love to talk about this one. I would love to right now.
Yeah,
Ask me some more questions about this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, when this came through, it looked like Zach was trading or you were trading a bunch of trash and roster cloggers for Zay Flowers, and it blows my mind. Like, I can't believe you did it, and you caused drama with it too, which was annoying for me. You made me stay up 45 minutes past my bedtime.
You poor thing. I would love to talk a little bit deeper into this one. So Zach hit me up. Like, he had just traded for Zay Flowers this offseason, straight up for Jordan Addison.
Yep.
And Jordan Addison's had some trouble with driving, he had like a DUI or something like that, allegedly, and then speeding to the vet, allegedly. Zay Flowers also had something like that in the offseason, but it blew over, and he had a strong finish to the 2023 season. So I was like, I like Zay Flowers. As a matter of fact, I had both of them on another dynasty in a separate league. So I was like, I like both of them. And he's like, okay, good to know. Didn't say anything else. And I was like, do you like DeAndre Swift? And I was like, just asking, And so I thought that's where this trade was going to head, was like DeAndre Swift, potentially straight up for Zay Flowers. I was like, because I knew Zach needed running backs. I mean, his team, he purged some. I don't think he got any in the draft, or still rocking Jerome Ford. Nick Chubb's still out. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I was like, he's like, what about Singletary? Is he for sale? I was like, yeah, sure. And then we started talking, and the trade that we're looking at is what it ended up being. I sent Devin Singletary, Rashad Bateman, Roshan Johnson, who's now like RB3 on the Chicago, and a third-round pick in 2026. Means nothing to me, for Zay Flowers. And this, in my opinion, helped fill a gap on my team of like some more young wide receivers that feel like they're going to be steady enough. Is he a top 5, top 10 guy? No, I don't think so.
Zay?
He's only,
I think he has top 10 potential.
Sure, potential. I mean, he's in year 2. Most of those guys don't get to that level until year 2 or 3, so he's got some time to prove things. But my big thing is, like, Singletary was like borderline flex for me, and I was able to replace him with Zay Flowers. So like, I was like, okay, I still have a flex to start, but my thing is like, Bateman was killing me, man. Like, I got him from Zach. I was like, this guy's just a roster clogger. He's too old for taxi.
Yeah.
Roshan was like, he hasn't looked great in preseason. His rookie season was not great. And now I have DeAndre Swift, who's on the Bears. So I was like, I didn't want 2 running backs from the same team, especially if it wasn't like a pure handcuff, because Khalil Herbert's still there. So I was like, this makes a lot of sense for me. And to make matters worse, it's like I did like Singletary, but I'm like, if Saquon Barkley wasn't amazing on the Giants, I don't have a lot of faith that Devin Singletary could be serviceable, because Saquon's amazing, and Singletary had a great season with the Texans.
Yeah.
I don't know what he finished. It was probably like RB 20, 24. Pretty decent, but I was like, he's not starting for me. And so it just made a lot of sense. So thanks, Zach. I think I gave you a L on that one.
Yeah, I can't believe you did that. I've been trying to pawn off. I have a decent amount of young running backs. I'm trying to pawn them off. So I played tennis with Zach the day after that, and I was like, why didn't you hit me up? And he's like, he was locked into the trades he was making. He was like, yeah, these are going to happen. And so it's like, man, I would have loved to try to at least have a say. But it sounds like now that Roshan's off your roster, you want to get that number 2 for Chicago, so you got to have a handcuff. So it sounds like you're in the market for Khalil Herbert. Am I understanding that right?
Send me an offer. I'd love to hear it.
You don't want to make one live while we're recording right now?
No, I think there's other things to talk about. Not what happened after this trade. I don't think the listeners need to hear any more of that. But
all right, fine. So let's hear hot takes.
Well, I want to point out one thing here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you keep going.
we like to take a peek
of
at
course.
this one. Now,
I forget.
Means nothing, but Keep Trade Cut values my youth on the team here. And so I would love to point out that I am currently the third best team, according to Keep Trade Cut, with my players coming in at a second place finish with running backs. Now with Zay Flowers. Ooh, has this been... Let me refresh this. I don't know if it's got Zay in the equation.
You've had the tab open for that long?
It's just in my pre-saved group here, but maybe it does. So yeah, up to fifth in wide receiver room, and really doesn't like Mark Andrews, probably because he's an old duck, but
you're sitting there with me at quarterback.
But yeah, should be top three according to this. I think in Logan's preseason rankings, those are always exciting.
I think I had you at 5, didn't I?
You got me at 5, so that's in the playoffs, and then anything can happen there, you know?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So yeah.
What do I do with picks? With picks,
I'll just tell you here.
Yeah.
I don't have many of those left, you know.
Yeah, I'm interested where it puts you.
Puts me down to 7.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, I see. We make sure to share the whole truth here. We don't just want to share the partial truth.
Partial truth of someone that no one values.
All right, so anything else you want to share on your season before we get into the hot picks?
I think it's going to be good.
Hot takes. No hot picks on this. You're on the wrong podcast if you're looking for hot picks.
Hot picks. Ooh. I mean, my commissioner's pretty hot, so
wow,
could get some picks. I could just take some screenshots, you know.
Sounds good. I think we're turning the wrong kind of podcast there.
Yeah, keep it PG here. I don't know. I think it's going to be a promising season. I do think injuries will tell a story that's going to make or break. I just really want to get off to a hot start because there's nothing worse than being like 4-5, 4-6 at the deadline, and like feeling like you have to make moves when really you're just getting bad breaks and or getting impatient with your team. So I think I'm just trying to preach patience to myself as a manager. And yeah, I'm hopeful because I also get 2 of the weaker teams twice this season. So I think that'll help pad the stats just a little bit. They are, quote unquote, tanking. So I think it'll help me.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's do hot takes.
You asked me too fast. I don't think I even thought of them, but
you sent me the schedule. This is where we're at on the schedule. This is your to blame.
So you want one for my team?
Yeah, your team, fantasy, and NFL.
Okay, Anthony Richardson being QB1's not hot, so I'll change that.
You know what is hot? Anthony Richardson being QB 100.
Okay.
No? Okay.
Hot take. Cooper Kupp, top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
Yeah. I think he's back, man. I think past 2 seasons have been up and down with Matt Stafford being hurt and also him being hurt. I think if he and Puka out there tearing it up, I think Puka's going to fade. Puka who is my nickname for Cooper Kupp. I think that's going to be very relevant.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Zach should name him. And then a cold take, but it's unfortunate, is I'm going to trade away a very good player and get a bum in return.
Wow, you're committing to it now. Wow.
I don't know how to say it that I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. So
hey, well, I hope that's with me.
Well, get this. Before that Zay Flowers trade, I made a pact with myself that I wasn't trading Zach. I lose every single trade I do with him. It was very clear that every trade I've made with him, I've lost by a mile.
Yeah.
And he then worked up that offer, and I was like, okay. And then he made a comment. He's like, it's not as fun when people don't like your trades. I'm like, yeah, it's really not. So glad Zach could experience that with me.
Yeah, good for you. All right, Nate, you have an NFL hot take?
Yeah, so I am a Chargers fan as of 2 years ago. Living in Southern California. Got to cling on to something.
you saw the Chargers blow that game to the Jags in the first round. You're like, now that's a team I want a piece of.
That's right. You were right. I should have stuck with the Jags. Trevor Lawrence. But last time, I think I was just a little stung from following Deshaun. Honestly, I really liked Deshaun coming out of Clemson, and he had a pretty great story up until what happened in 2020 or 2021. So that honestly was like kind of an influence. Is like, I don't really know who these people are, so it's like I'd rather not just follow a player I like. And
fair enough.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to go to the games, so I did go to a Los Angeles Chargers game last year. That was fun.
Yeah.
My hot take for the Chargers is that they finished dead last in the division.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Behind the Raiders, behind the Broncos, and the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'll give that a mild hot take. I don't know if it's that hot, but like that doesn't sound shocking. Like Herbert doesn't really have anyone to throw to, so.
All right, let me think of a spicier one. They get first in the division. Just kidding. I don't know. Okay, here's one. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards tear it up, and they actually lead the league in rushing, the Chargers.
Wow. Actually, I keep forgetting they're on the Chargers.
Like they used to be on the Ravens together. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, they were on the Ravens together. Yeah. I like that hot take. That's a fun one.
Yeah. So as a team, they lead the league in rushing.
All right. That's a hot take.
We'll take it.
All right. Well, any final or parting words as we wrap up this episode?
I think just gratitude for everyone coming on the podcast, doing the show. I think it's a fun idea. Logan and I kicked around for a little bit, and he was like, look, let's just do it. He's like, I'll help when I can and be here to co-host, which I'm super thankful for too. And I think it's just been a blast. It's been so fun to get to catch up with people, and hopefully we can keep it going. I know it takes time to schedule and do this and that, but it's fun. I'm glad you guys are listening. I think that's been the best part, is just hearing you guys talk about it. So,
and I'll give credit to you. I mean, I like you. As long as you're leading it, I enjoy being part of it. So I told you at the beginning, like, hey, if you lead this, I'll do it. So you've kept at it, and you've been tried and true, and I appreciate that. I think, I mean, we got everyone in the league on the podcast, which we weren't sure was going to happen when we started, and I think everyone's listening. And it's fun seeing the chat, and maybe eventually we'll have more listeners outside of our league, and we'll do it. I'm working on some stuff on the side that'll be a fun little addition, but this wouldn't have happened without you. So appreciate you making this happen. It's a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just saw the deal with the New Heights podcast from the Kelsey brothers. I think that's our ceiling,
Bro, that's
our dollar deal for.
That's our floor. Okay, you got to think bigger.
That's right. $100 million for 3 years. Amazon. We're available. Yeah. You just got to talk to Dez. He's a seed investor here.
Yeah, maybe Amazon. There are those 3 views we couldn't figure out who they were. It was all Amazon.
It's CEO Jeff Bezos. Check us out.
Cool. Well, I think that's all we got for today. So as usual, I guess subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, wherever it is. I think YouTube is maybe the one we're trying to build, but if you're listening to the podcast, that's cool. I think Spotify is where we focus there, but just share it around. I think we're going to be doing stuff during the season. Justin has some ideas. I think we should do a season preview, even if it's a shorter episode. I haven't told you that yet. I was going to tell you after, but I'll tell you now. We should do a season preview. I think that'd be fun. And then we'll get into the season, and we'll have regular season updates. So thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
See y'all.